When you open up your ATI screen, you will be on the home screen, which will give you a summary of your most recent activities. At the top here, you will navigate between 4 different tabs. Most of the work that you and your classmates will complete is under this second tab, the My ATI. The various tabs under My ATI have different tests and activities that can help you succeed in various courses throughout your program. Under the Learn tab, you have active stack pharmacology flashcards that can help in pharmacology classes. In this module, you can select a lesson based on a different system, and you can make electronic flashcards on various content. You can choose to have the card set up as administration, side effects, drug reactions, brand name, trade name, patient teaching, contraindications, precautions, and what the drugs are also used for. Once you select which category you want to be tested in, you can go ahead and start the flashcards. You can keep track of whether or not the cards are correct or not, so that you can keep track of your score and see which areas you may need to spend some more time studying in. Another great resource for pharmacology is under this Learn tab, and that is the Pharmacology Made Easy 4.0. Very similar to the flashcards, each section is divided by a system. It has a lesson that will have different activities, brief questions and answers, and videos to cover the drugs for each system. They may also have a case study, as this one does here for the musculoskeletal system, and a short little quiz at the end to test yourself on. When you want to get out of a module, the previous module will pop up here, and you can get out easily by just clicking this close button up here. On the Learn tab, another helpful resource is the Engage Fundamentals. If you did not have this when you took fundamentals, this is a good resource to go back and revisit throughout your program, especially before you enter or complete your 5th term. The Engage Fundamentals modules goes through different skills and concepts covered in the fundamentals class. It gives you a chance to do a little mini lesson reviewing and a follow-up test. For example, if we go under documentation, it's set up very similar to the Pharm Made Easy, with a brief lesson, the highlights, and also a couple flashcards to practice. They also under here have a glossary for terms that are unfamiliar. As you notice up here, your time calculates spent in each of these modules, so that you can keep track of which areas you've spent some time in and which maybe need a little bit more time. A couple of additional resources under the Learn tab that are helpful are the Nurse Logic and Nurse's Touch. Both cover some of the softer concepts in nursing, such as communication, civility, and professionalism. Each of these modules also have a pre-test, a lesson, and a more advanced test with a little bit harder style questions. Priority setting frameworks and knowledge and clinical judgment under Nurse Logic may seem like basic concepts, but I always recommend these for each student because it goes through how to break down the NCLEX style questions and how to decipher answers when it's a priority question. And this is a good resource for pretty much any course in this program. The next tab that you want to review is going to be the Apply tab. This will have other activities that will be useful. Skills modules is one that we've completed a lot in fundamentals and pharmacology classes, and if you haven't gotten to these classes yet, keep this resource on radar because this is one that you and your class will be using frequently. Very similar to the other modules, it starts out with a little lesson, a pre-test where you can assess your knowledge going into the lesson, and then the post-test where you can assess after. In different classes, certain skills modules will be assigned, and usually there will be a certain grade that you need to obtain on the post-test in order to receive credit for completion. However, not every class covers all module, and not all modules are necessarily covered through the program. So if there is a skill that isn't in a certain class, you and your fellow students are more than welcome to go in and review and enhance your knowledge on that. Towards the bottom of the skills modules, they have virtual scenarios, which allows you to participate in a clinical simulation where you can sort of pull the scenarios together. The simulations will start out with a video in which you can make choices and selections for your patient. For example, we'll go into the one on HIPAA here. You also want to let your classmates know that ATI works best in Firefox browser. Sometimes it has some glitches. You can try Chrome as a backup, but Firefox is usually the preferred browser for ATI. So in this virtual scenario, they give you a little bit of the background.
Enjoy your break, Hildy. See you in a few minutes. Oh, looks like someone left the documentation system open with client information on it. This client isn't even on this unit.
As you can see, it gives you different prompts for different actions to take. It gives you some different choices you can complete. Usually the scenario will continue and it'll give you a grade at the end unless you've made a detrimental patient care decision, in which case the scenario will shut down and give you a failing grade. Most of these type of scenarios are not necessarily for credit in different classes, but they are a good resource to check your knowledge in a real life like scenario. Another good resource under the Apply tab are the video case study modules. This is almost like the simulation scenarios we saw, only this is a much shorter scenario. They give you a little video snippet and ask you a question. You'll play the video. You can either record your answer or write your answer and then submit it, and then your instructor will write a response and feedback on here. The test tab is one that you and your classmates are most likely familiar with, as this is where your proctored exams and classroom exams are usually hosted under. There usually are a few other ones on here that you can practice, such as they have the next gen NCLEX questions on here, so you can practice and get some experience with those type of questions if you're graduating in April 2023 or anytime after. Otherwise, historically, your practice and proctored exams will be under here as well. The one resource that you're probably the most familiar with is the Learning System RN 3.0. This is an excellent resource to use throughout the program. Under standard quizzes, there's preset quizzes for pretty much every topic in the program. Communication can be used in fundamentals, leadership, or pretty much alongside any course. Community health is also a good one to use alongside leadership. As you're advancing through the program, a comprehensive final is there. Fundamentals has 3 exams. Geriatrics has 2, leadership has 2. Maternal newborn or OB has 3. Med-Surg has probably about a dozen, and they break it down by system. So you can go through and do one for section that's going to be on upcoming exams. Mental health has 3. Pediatrics or nursing care of children has 3. Pharmacology has 2. Another common resource in this one is under the dynamic quizzes. You go to quizzes and assignments. You can make your own custom exam based on whichever course you are working on. You go up to new custom quiz. It gives you a few different modes here. The adaptive mode, I usually say to hold off until you're in your 4th or 5th term, as it covers pretty much every topic and it wouldn't really be applicable in your 1st, 2nd, or 3rd term. Study mode is probably the most common one used. You can go down here. As you can see, every subject here is highlighted. If you clear it and then just select whichever topic that you want to be tested on, you can choose the level of difficulty for the questions that you want to do, hard, medium, easy, or a combination. Let's do a combination of moderate and hard. In the bold here, that tells you with the filters you've put in how many questions you have possible. You can select a preset number of questions here or type in or toggle down however many questions you want to do at a time. I personally recommend doing no more than about 50 at a time, as your brain tends to get a little overloaded at that point. For this one, let's just say 40. Usually leaving it untimed during study mode is best. And then go to start quiz. For each question, you will select an answer. You can check the answer. If it's a red X, it's wrong. If it's a green check, it's right. But if you click show explanation, this gives you the rationale to study from. Alongside here, it also tells you the percentage of fellow peers that guessed the same answer as you and or got the answer correct. When you're reading the rationale for these questions, be sure to take time to really read through and encourage your fellow classmates to do this too, to really understand why the answer is the answer. One, that helps cement content understanding, but 2, it also helps kind of go back and decipher what the question itself was looking for. This is another reason why I personally don't recommend doing more than about 50 questions in a sitting. After you've done a few in study mode, it's a good idea to go into test mode where you can really test what you've been studying. You can set it up the same way as you do for study mode. Pick the topic that you want to do. You can still select the level of difficulty of question and the number of questions. If you want to give yourself a challenge, you can do it in timed, especially if you have any sort of test anxiety regarding timed exams. And here you can say how many seconds you want per question or total time. When you go into the quiz in this mode, it presents just like any other quiz that you take throughout the program, and it will give you a score at the end. It's helpful to keep track of your scores doing in test mode, because then you can go back and see what you need to study, or you can note areas that you have improved in. If you're in 4th or 5th term, I recommend at least trying the CAT adaptive, so that one, you can get a feel for your overall learning, but also your retention of topics that were covered in previous semesters. When you select this setting, it automatically will select every subject, and it gives you a minimum of 265 questions. When you start the exam, it will function very similar to how your NCLEX exam will be. You'll answer a question, and then the computer will decide based on your answer to the subject whether it's going to throw you more difficult questions or easier questions on that topic. And it will keep going until it can identify within a certain percentage of how you're going to proceed on that exam. Another tab that you will use frequently in ATI is the My Results tab. Once you have taken an ATI sponsored practice or proctored exam, the results will appear here under the applicable headings. Prior to this video, I took a very quick fundamentals practice from 2016. I did not aim to do anything other than taking it quickly so that I could show you this, so ignore my score. but it will give you this percentage score, how much time that you spent on it. And then this next thing, focused review time, this is what you're going to spend your remediation on. If you open up the exam's title, it will come up here and break into the different categories that were on the exam. As you can see, it breaks it down into different categories and it tells you what percentage of that section you got right. Usually anything under 80% is something that you would want to spend your time on. In this area, I clicked through very quickly and got 9.1%, bad nurse. So that tells me that's something I probably need to get some more practice on. You click on the green button here and this will start your focused review time. Different classes will have different requirements on your focused review time. And this brings me up into sections that fall under the basic care and comfort category that the test thought I didn't do very well in. Under here are different chapters. You can expand. It includes an active learning template and a chapter for me to read in more depth. Over here, it gives me the more reading to go through. And as you can see, up here is where it's counting my time that I've spent in the focused review. I just click on this focused review tab. That takes me back to my table of contents on things that I need to spend more time on. Up here, it has outcome videos, so it gives me a long list of videos that I can watch to help improve my knowledge of this content. And then when I'm done, I can just simply hit close up here. At the end of my focused review, it has my entire focused review time up here. I would continue to go through on any areas that I ideally did less than 80% on, but if nothing else, I would at least do my lowest categories. You can come back to this at any time, not even just during the semester that you're taking the course. So if you want to refresh on a subject that you may not have done your best in, you can always go back and spend more time doing focused review. The final tab that can be resourceful for you in your role as an ATI Student Champion is the Help tab, of course. In here, there's an FAQ and of general things that can answer some basic questions, but you can also click down here on this Support tab. And then usually there will be a chat box during business hours in which you can reach out to an ATI support personnel.